Welcome to the Successful Nurse Coach podcast. On this podcast, Laura
and Shelby, both board-certified nurse coaches, show you how to make as much money as you want in private practice as a nurse coach.
All right, guys, welcome to the Successful Nurse Coach podcast. It's me, Laura, here today. And I picked a really cool title for the episode. It's just me today, but it is called The Quirky Connector, Why Standing Out is Your Superpower. This is primarily aimed towards how to network in person. Now, this is your first episode you've ever tuned into, maybe you don't know that I'm an insane introvert. I'm kind of an ambivert, but as far as like in-person networking, it's very difficult for me. It would not be my most favorite way to network, but I can do it. And so I wanted to share not only networking for introverts, but for you extroverts too, just some strategies on how to be when you're new, and how to answer the dreaded "what do you do" statement, and just some tips and tricks for all the in-person networking that you might do. So in-person networking could be a local networking group. It could be going to a party. It could be going to events from your kids' schools. That's where I did a lot of my networking. It can be anytime you're around other people. And let me tell you what it's not. For those of you who've done the MLM thing, I remember feeling like everywhere I went, if I was working on my business, that I was like, I don't know, the way that it felt was constantly looking to talk about myself and what I did and being super self-centered, if I'm being honest. And that just feels terrible. And so that's not how I'm going to teach you to do it. But these are just tips and tricks on how to be human and how to connect with human beings. Now, for me, and I'll see if this is for you too, I have moods. I have good days and I have bad days. I am a female. I have a cycle. I have hormones. I have patterns and rhythms. And so I am fully aware that there is a better time of the month for me to do anything in person and networking wise. I have more energy. I'm more outgoing. Things sound good. And so if this is you as well, notice that we have control over when we can do these parts of our business sometimes. Sometimes we don't. The state that you want to be in that will feel the best is coming from that deep part of you that wants to serve. And it's got to be bigger than the deep part of you that wants a successful business. That's got to be bigger than the part of you that wants to hit an income goal if you're in any of our programs. It is the part of you that really got into nurse coaching. And so the best way to go to a networking event is just imagine, and I used to have a fake picture of my bank account. Just imagine $100,000 in your business banking account. So like clients are good. You've got money. Clients are coming out the wazoo. You're just going to show up in the world at this event and serve. That's the place you want to come from. And so when you go to a networking event, what a lot of people do is think about what they can get from the event. I want you to think about 1, 2, or 3 people that you can bless. I like the word bless in a non-religious context, that you can bless with your presence, where you are certain that them spending that little bit of time with you made their day better, made them feel seen, made them feel heard, made them feel loved, made them feel hopeful, reduced some of their suffering, made them feel connected, made them feel less weird and lonely at the networking event. Let them tell you all about their business. Let them tell you about their goals. Let them talk about them. If you can do that for 2 to 3 people at every networking event you go to, you will create clients, and it'll be accidental. And so I'll give you some of the things that I did. I created a lot of clients from my kids' preschool at the time I brought oracle cards to like a mom's event and then just offered to do readings And what I mean by a reading is they pull a card, it has something on it, and we kind of use that as jumping off place to do like a little mini coaching session. And so I just asked if I said, I brought my cards. Does anybody want me to do like a short reading or like a thing with you? And they were pumped. And this was at the end of the event, had some wine. We'd already done our thing and they were pumped. And for an hour, they sat in a line and I just got to like have them pull a card and then ask them questions and like look them in the eyes and ask them about them. So I really used the oracle cards in that context as a jumping off point to provide like a short little tiny coaching session with permission. Another time, I was at a networking event around a big table and I shared openly about some of my gifts and how I was in the process of bringing a lot of my gifts into the world. And that one of my gifts is that when people spend time with me, their lives change. And I just said, I'm not sure exactly how it works. It's just, I think, what I'm on the planet to do. So that's why I've opened my coaching practice. Because I didn't have a niche and I didn't know who was at the table. And at the time I was selling health coaching and life coaching and I was trying different things. And that's very general, but there's like a spiritual kind of component to it. So that worked really, really well. And people came up to me afterwards and wanted to know more because I was curious about them. And also, I'm a super connector. So here's one thing that you can do with in-person networking events. Be a super connector. You have your own group of people that you know. Go see who else that you could connect to them. And so you might introduce yourself. I'm a super connector. I'm just one of those people that I can't shut up about awesome people that I meet. And I just tend to connect people everywhere I go. And so I'd love to learn more about you because maybe there's somebody I can connect to you and what you provide. Be the super connector. We all as coaches want to serve super connectors. If you meet another one, absolutely offer a free coaching session. But you can be that for the event. So if you go to that event and you think to yourself, I have $100,000 in my business banking account. I don't need anything. I am here for the next 90 minutes to serve. I am trusting that there's 1, 2, 3 human beings at this event that I'm destined to spend time with that I can help or connect or be present for them. That immediately makes you stand out. Just that approach will make you stand out. It's fantastic and it feels so good as a nurse. Essentially, think of it as like a nursing shift where you're going to go to the event and you're a nursing persona where you take care of other people and you serve other people, and all those people are patients. That's so different than you going and thinking about, oh my God, what am I going to say when somebody asks me what I do? Oh my gosh, is my card okay? Oh my gosh, I have this workshop. I really want to talk about this workshop. It'll take, if you're in that mindset, it just feels bad to be there. So just abandon that, right? And besides coming from a place of service, being the super connector, I want you to focus on quality over quantity. I think for networking events, it can feel like we need to introduce ourselves to everybody in the room. Use your intuition. Pick 1, 2, 3 people for whatever reason, however you want to do it. And go over to them, introduce yourself, and ask them about them. I find it only takes, you're going to be nervous. Most of us are going to be nervous when we go to the thing. But I find that once somebody starts talking about themselves to you, a lot of the nerves will go away. So think of this as your own networking Ativan. Networking Ativan is seeing how quickly you can meet somebody and learn about them. Because once you're in that listening, coaching presence mindset, everything starts to get easier. Okay. Another background kind of concept that I did a workshop on and I've done podcasts on is this idea of not selling ourselves, but selling a concept. And so think about a concept that kind of represents what you believe and your practice. So if you're a health coach, if there's a concept of you believe the human body wants to heal, knows how to heal, and just needs the right conditions to heal itself, talk about that. Sell that. Get excited about that. But don't talk about you and that you're a nurse coach and you've gone through these certifications and these are some of your offers and blah, blah, blah. Talk about the concept. Let me see if I can give you another example here. Let's say you work with moms in their third act of life who have an empty nest and are learning to find themselves again. So there could be a concept around this that you really, really believe in. You believe that it's the third part of your life is the most fun, the most powerful. It's time for you to fully step into your purpose outside of just being a mom. It's time for you to shine, to use your wisdom, to get excited about your life, to have some fun. That's a concept. Talk about that. Talk about that concept. And that's not you. You're not selling you. You're selling this concept that you're really excited about, that is loosely attached to how you make money. That'll feel a lot better. Okay, here's another thing. When you're connecting, let's say that you find somebody in the room and you go talk to them and they're telling you all about them and say, I would love to get your contact info. I'm a super connector and this is how I kind of build my network of people. Would you be okay giving me your phone number? Get their phone number right there and then text them your own contact. So you can create your own contact that has all your stuff. You can even have the links. And so you'll just send them an actual contact. They can save it in their phone. And you can also, it's a way for you to connect with them. It's also a way for you to follow up a few days later and say, hey, I was thinking about you and I didn't ask you at the event, but would you like to experience 1 or 2 sessions from me? I won't try to sell you anything, but that way, if you come across somebody, you can refer me from a place of knowing, not just meeting me for 10 minutes. This is fantastic because handing out cards is just not going to do it. It's just not the right way to do it. In fact, if somebody asks for cards, I just send everything digitally. I have a digital business card on my phone. I'd love to send that to you. What's your phone number? And maybe you could send, do you have one as well? I'd love to have your contact info. Now, you know how to coach. When you're in these little mini connecting sessions with people, ask open-ended questions. Look in their eyes. Don't keep it surface level. Make it weird. Use your coaching presence. Turn into the coach part of you in those interactions. Compliment them. Do some motivational interviewing. Now, I've heard people say that feels like manipulation. Well, if it's not true, then it is. So find something that's true that you can be honest about. And here's the thing. All human beings have the same desires and the same fears. So everybody at that networking event, I want to remind you that they all have some level of discomfort that you're experiencing. Where we're lucky as coaches is that we know this. And so we don't have to go pretend like we're not afraid. We don't have to go pretend like we're nervous. We could meet somebody and say, gosh, I'm an introvert. As soon as I saw you, I just wanted to connect with you. Are you an introvert? Right? Like going right into them, but just being honest about who you are and your experience, and maybe ask them, what's the biggest struggle in your business right now, or like in your life right now? What's the heaviest thing that you're carrying? And there's a percentage of people that will be so grateful that you asked them that, and they'll never forget you. So here's my legendary advice with in-person events. Be weird. Make it weird. Interact in a way that's different. Worst case scenario, you feel like your clothes are going to catch on fire. You're so uncomfortable and you leave there and you've just got the worst cringe and you can laugh. That's like the worst case scenario. Best case scenario is that you nail it. And not only do you nail it and help 2-3 people at that event, but you build your own self-concept that you're actually a great in-person connector and that you like doing it and that you want to do more. And this becomes a skill set that you're very good at. That, by the way, being able to network in person well is a freaking awesome skill set. You will never be broke if you can learn to do that. If this is a skill that you can cultivate, You will never go broke. Now, I went to a networking event with my husband. We have some other businesses. I just don't work on those other businesses as much as this. So my whole business is online. So I've got this online thing down, but it's been a minute since I've done an in-person. And I found myself we had to go around the networking event and talk about ourselves. And I found myself as they went around the circle and everyone was going to talk about what they did. I found myself getting nervous because I felt out of practice. And so the way I dealt with that is I said to myself, oh, I have a lot of energy in my body. As soon as I stand up, I'll just allow whatever comes out to come out. And if I need to tell everybody I'm out of practice networking in person, I'm behind a Zoom screen all day. So I'm just super stoked to be here with lipstick on in front of you all. Like, I think I'd said something like that. I don't really remember, but that was my approach. And that just disarms the whole room because they can sense that what came out of my mouth was not performative. It was like Laura Menard at a networking event, Rusty, calling it out. And when you do that, there's like nothing to be nervous about. And you disarm everybody in the room. And to be honest, the whole room got more grounded. My husband did a great job. And he said, you don't have any problem. I don't think he knew that I was nervous about it. And I don't really remember what I said. But I in retrospect, I know that if I went 3 or 4 or 5 more times, like that wouldn't be a thing. Like I'd probably be really excited and just like who would I meet? And I don't think it hurts to have this skill, regardless if you have an online or in-person business, because if someone asks you to come speak at an event or to do something in your hospital, these are all skills that translate there. All right. Resist the urge to talk about yourself. Oh my gosh, I did this early on. And I'll tell you why I did it. I wanted to prove my worthiness. I wanted to prove my professionalism. I wanted people to think that I had something to offer because secretly I didn't know if I had something to offer. So I talked a lot about nurse coaching and what it is and what my training was and what I do and how nurse coaching is going to change the world and me. Totally not the right approach. It's just not relevant to most people. In some certifications, they ask you to practice saying what nurse coaching is. It's likely not going to land in the way that that you want it to, unless you're talking to another nurse. So if you're not talking to another nurse, just don't even go into what nurse coaching is. Talk more about what you do, how you help people. And I'm going to give you a little formula here in just a moment. Okay. I'm going to give you a little formula to just get a feel for what you could say. And so the formula is helping who? So your ideal client can be a hypothesis, could be human beings, could be people. Achieve what by how. So if people asked me at a networking event, so let's say I was at a networking event full of nurses. So I could say, I help nurses who want more from their career create a private practice through nurse coaching and through business mentorship. That was a little bit choppy. Let's see if I can do a better job. I'll do like what I used to say when I would do health coaching. I help middle-aged women with autoimmune disorders figure out what is wrong and reclaim their life by doing functional medicine testing and deep coaching. Another good approach. So helping who, your ideal client, achieve what, the results, by, and how you do it. That's kind of your canned what do you do statement, and you can play with that. Another approach that I like with what do you do is I said, I do what I believe, and I believe that conversations can change lives. So I just try to have as many of those types of conversations as possible with my clients because I didn't know what my niche was. And so I could tailor that when I found out more about the other person. But if it was just generalized, and it's a strange enough statement that it would create more questions and more conversations. And so I could say, well, let me give you an example. Tell me a little bit about you. What are you struggling with right now? Or what comes to mind? and give an example of how you'd be helping them. It's really cool. Or you might tell a story about a client that's similar to them. And here's the thing, me and Shelby always talk about the coach your butt off phase. Until you've coached 130 sessions, 130 hours, you likely will have a difficult time with the what do you do statement. There's just not enough context and identity for it to work. And so I often find people perseverating and just freaking out about this instead of coming up with something generic so that you have something that can come out of your mouth if you have the opportunity, and waiting until you have more experience. And so you can say something like, I'm a life coach. Well, I'm a nurse trained as a life coach, and I help so-and-so achieve whatever by working with me one-on-one. Because perhaps you don't want to niche down yet because you're still in the exploration phase. So having something like, I do what I believe, and what I believe is, and then talk about the concept instead of selling yourself. I do what I believe, and I believe that emotional intelligence is the most important thing that we need to learn as human beings. So I work with clients on emotional intelligence. Or I do what I believe, and I believe that we are most happy when we're working in our purpose. So I help human beings find their purpose and take action immediately. I'm going to keep spitballing here just to give you guys more examples. I do what I believe, and I believe that your primary relationship is the number one indicator of your happiness. So I help couples uncover what their own personal goals are and their goals as a couple. I find most of you want to know how and what. You want to know how to say it and what to do. And I think a better approach is, before you go into the room, ask yourself, who do I want to be here today? You want to be somebody who shakes hands and looks people right in the eye. You want to be somebody who's curious and kind. You want to be somebody who believes in the power of human potential and the power of transformation and the power of one conversation being a choice point that completely alters the path of your entire life. Because I'm changing into that state right now. Because when I'm her, which is what I actually believe, I believe everybody on the planet should at least work with a coach, if not go through coach training. I think the whole world would be different. Because coach training raises your consciousness. Opening a private practice raises your consciousness anymore. And the value isn't necessarily in the business that you build and the way that you earn, but it's who you freaking become doing it. It is the climb. If you can climb in private practice regularly, weekly, consistently, over time, you change. And that's how I can, quite frankly, stay in this niche of private practice, this niche of helping new nurse coaches in their first few years of private practice. I've been told this is one of the most difficult niches to stay relevant in and to do for a long period of time because it's not easy. You guys know this. It is 10 times harder than you think. Everybody thinks they're going to be special. And so the feelings that you have before going to your networking event, you think something's gone wrong. And I've coached enough of you to know that it hasn't. And so my nervous system helps you. And I believe in like the importance of giving it a go. I believe that you need to just go for it and see, and let's see where it takes you. And so that my belief is how I'm able to sell coaching in my niche. It's this concept that I believe in. And so what I hope your takeaways are for today's session is, don't make it about you at the event. Be weird, be quirky, be honest, be courageous, speak differently. Focus on your being, not your doing or how you're going to say it. Try not to be self-focused if you can. If somebody asks you, what do? You could say, gosh, I'm at this networking event and it's really difficult for me to say it. I'm a new business owner, but I'm a professional coach and I just believe that conversations change lives. Tell me a little bit about you. That could be the worst case scenario, is that you did something like that and then you focus the attention back on the other person. I've got a few kind of cool examples of what do you do statements that are kind of fun. I'm going to read these. I'm not going to spitball these. I help people turn their someday dreams into right now realities. I coach people who feel like they're surviving life to thriving in it instead. I help get people stuck in meh moments and start having them live with an exclamation point. I am like a personal GPS for your goals, helping you reroute when life throws you off track. I work with people going through insane transition because transitions are the best times to recreate yourself. I work with people who want to stop living on autopilot and start driving their own destiny. I'm like a life architect, helping you design a future you're obsessed with. I mean, you can throw something into ChatGPT. There's lots of articles on this. We used to have a whole web class on this. But I find the simpler, the better. And it's okay if it's generic, if you're not sure. Now, if you're niched down, we can play with that. We can create something you can practice. This will be the thing you say over and over again. But until then, there's like 1,000 ways to go network and do this thing. Okay. Also, let's talk about call to action. So the goal is to leave an event with a few contacts that you can follow up with. The goal is to build your network so that you can be the super connector in your community. The goal is that when you show up to that event, there's this almost spiritual, divine aspect to it that you made a certain amount of people's lives better when you were there. All right. Let me know how this lands, how this feels. I did a post in our Facebook group and we had the funniest responses because it's just like, we can save lives. We can do chest compressions. We can get through nursing school. We can get through nurse coach training. We can get our NCBC, but we can't go to an event with strangers and answer the question, what do you do? It's just too much. If you'd like to, in our Facebook group, or if you're a client of ours, let's have a conversation about this. Start throwing it out there and testing it and seeing what the community thinks. But come up with something. You can come up with something to use even if you're not niched down. All right, guys, I will see you in the community. Have a wonderful rest of your day.